On today's episode, I'm speaking with Claire Hooper. Claire Hooper is an international lash artist, a lash business coach, and my friend. She's helping lash artists diversify their revenue with her new online workshops. Make sure you tune in to the end of the episode for your chance to win 50% off a course with Lash Affair and a course with Claire. All right, so we are recording. We are live. Yeah. So I'm so happy to have my guest on today. She is such a beautiful soul, and I'm so happy to have you on our podcast to tell your story. So this is a very special story. I had the pleasure of hearing this in person. You were an educator for us for like a hot minute, and just due to logistics of you being in Canada, it just wasn't working out. But I loved our time together. So today my guest is Claire Hooper. She has a beautiful story. So let's hear it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so inspiring. So
thank you. No, I'm so excited to be on this podcast. This is my second podcast I've been on, so I'm like practically an influencer now.
Basically.
Yeah, I'm like, hello. So oh my goodness, my story runs deep. So I don't know, I guess I take it all the way back, but
take us all the way back. Yeah. Raw realness. It just don't leave anything out.
It's like weird because now I'm in the lash industry and sometimes I forget about like all the journey, I have to remind myself. But so I grew up single mom and like rough, like we spent time being homeless, we spent time being hungry, I think we have like this illusion sometimes that growing up, like, because I'm in Canada, growing up like in the first world, like everything's great, but there's like a lot of people who don't have, so we did I don't know, I've been in a shelter like 15 times maybe, like a homeless shelter. So, and my mom worked really hard, like she tried her best, but it's just like you just hit bridge after bridge, and to kind of get your legs up in things, it's like it's not easy, and it's funny, this is like the first time I've like told my story on like such a public forum, but
I'm honored that it's on ours.
Yeah. So but it's like it creates who you are, and we sometimes like we just put it away, like our stories, but it's like without all that I probably wouldn't be where I'm at now, the person I am today.
100%.
Struggle breeds results. So that was a lot of things. So I was always like, you know what, I just want to like help people. I said first, it's funny, I said I wanted to be a pediatrician, then I wanted to be a teacher, then I wanted to be a social worker, and realized I just don't want to go to university. So it was just less and less school. And then
honesty. Yeah,
it's true. I was like, I'm not going to school for 10 years. So and then I ended up becoming a child and youth worker, and it put me in a situation where I worked with almost the same kids as me, like the same struggles, the same situations. And it's hard as much as you want to do well when your circumstance is so raw, it's hard, and so I did that. So I mostly worked with kids who were in conflict with the law, so they were like on probation, which is, I'm not sure if the terminology is different in the US, but we have like the Young Offenders Act kind of thing. And then I worked in secure custody, where youth would get a sentence that an adult would get 5 years or more, like in prison. Like, so that's what they did, sort of thing. So I did that for a while, and it was great. Like, I loved being a child and youth worker. The stories I could tell were like so fun. Yeah, they were like fun, but like sad, right? But like these guys were up to like the craziest stuff, like there was always something. And I'd always start with, they'd be like, Claire, I have to tell you something that happened this weekend. And I'm like, listen, if I ever have to talk to your probation officer, like you need to, and they're like, okay, I won't tell you the whole story. But exactly. Don't incriminate yourself. But it was good, but I got burnt out, and I got to the point, like I was on antidepressants and I didn't want to go to work, and I wasn't being a good mom. I have 2 boys.
How old were they at this time?
So I just had one, and he was 4.
Oh, so young. Okay.
Yeah. And then I was just like not wanting to get up for work every day and just feeling like so awful. And I would get to work, and like when you're working with a vulnerable sector, you have to be all in, because those kids can see through it in like a second,
Feel it.
They can feel it. Like they're like, even one day.
Present.
Yeah. One day a kid said to me, he was like, "What's my middle name?" And I was like, I I don't know, something so random. And I was like, "I don't know." And I didn't really care. And then he was like, "You don't even want to be here anymore." And I was like, "Damn, I don't." Like, I don't want to be here, you know? But when you have a good job with benefits, and I worked like the perfect schedule, it seems weird to give that up, right? And
Right.
one day my husband and I were hanging out, and he was like, "You should quit your job." I'm like, "No, no, responsible adults don't quit their job." Like, you know, and he's like, "Okay, don't." And I'm like, "So this is a challenge? You don't think I'm going to do it?" But yeah, so then I went in and I literally had my review meeting with my bosses, and they were like, "You're so happy today. Like, we're glad to see you happy because you've been so down." And I'm like, "I'm quitting. I'm out."
Oh, you're like, funny you mention it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and uh so that was that. And I quit, and at the time I was getting my lashes done, and the
What
girl
year
was
was
like,
this?
"Pardon?"
What year was this?
Oh, this was, when did I quit? 2016?
Okay.
Yeah, or the end of 2015. And I was getting my lashes done at the time, and the girl said to me, she's like, "You should do lashes." I was like, "Girl, no one's gonna pay me to do their lashes." And she's like, "But you're paying me right now." And I'm like, "Oh, true."
Like,
Yeah. So I took the course, and it was like one of those really quick, like 6-hour courses, and I glued all the lashes to her skin, and I never looked back.
oh,
And I've improved from there, definitely. But yeah, and that's like the short version of the journey up. But I think the best part is, like, you can come from so much despair, I guess, and still like make it up. You know, it's that perseverance that goes through. And sometimes in the moment, you know, if I looked at myself when I was 16, I never thought like I'd be making my own money. I'd be helping other women grow their money. You know, I own my house. Like, I never thought that would ever be the
there's
journey. I don't want to get emotional. I'm not gonna cry, but you never think it's going to be the journey, you know?
yeah.
And even now, like, women in lashes, like, they're stressed because they don't have clients and stuff, but it's like, it's gonna come. It's just, I saw this thing and it was like, your $1 million idea could be like just around the corner. It could be tomorrow. You know what I mean? You just have to like put yourself out there for the opportunity. So that's kind of the journey squeezed up. I hope that wasn't too like condensed.
No, no. I just think, I mean, you touched on the major points, of course, and I think that there's something to be said about coming from, at a disadvantage, maybe you'd want to say, like just
Yeah.
not giving not being born necessarily into all of these opportunities. You
Yeah.
were given all these chances, but like you went out there and took it for yourself, right? So I think that can be really difficult for most people, right? It's scary, and it's sometimes, if you're not positive inside your mind, it can be very self-defeating. So that to me is just like, that was my takeaway from you. It was just like, wow, she just had like the warrior mindset of like, I'm gonna keep going and pushing myself and never giving up. And now you have this beautiful career and it's thriving. Like you just said, you have a home and a husband and 2 children. So just because your story started off one way doesn't mean it has to end a certain way. So, our motto here at Lash Affair is change your story. And the reason behind that is just like, I don't care if you are the most successful or you have it all figured out or you think your life is perfect. Like, I think everybody has an opportunity to change for the better, right? Learn something new, learn from someone else. You know, I just feel like the moment you think you're done, I think that's when you just stop growing and you're like at the back of the bus. So I think that changing your story on the regular and having the guts to do things that are uncomfortable or super, super scary, because it's like, what's scarier than not having a home or not knowing where your next meal is coming from, and still
Yeah.
having that inner strength to be a mom and just be there for your children at the times where probably most people just kind of throw in the towel.
Yeah. No.
Hopefully they don't, but I think that is a lot of people's stories. They just, not everybody can kind of pull their shit together. So it's
Mhm.
really, I'm just impressed. So
Oh, thank
now
you.
you're here today, you're
Yeah.
thriving, you're healthy, you're always just such a positive light. Every
Mhm.
time you post something, I just love your energy. And obviously now you have this podcast, which is very exciting. So what else have you been up to?
So, well, I still lash. I'm still an active lash artist, which is good because I like being in the industry still. Even like with you, you have this huge empire, but I still see you being like, I'm doing lashes today. You know what I mean? Like you still get like a vibe for what's happening. Like it keeps you like connected.
Totally. That's a
Yeah.
good way to say it, where it's like, I'm not, obviously my day is filled with so many other things that
Yeah.
supersede doing a set of lashes. But when I do get to dive in, it's just pure enjoyment. And you're like I said, it keeps you connected. I love
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Like you can feel it grounded. A lot of times, like, I mean, people are busy, right? And they get away from it completely. But I think it's a good way to connect to your audience, right? Like you use the tools or you've tried them firsthand that you're selling, which I think is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that a lot about your brand. So yeah, so I'm doing that. I do business coaching, online courses. My main thing is, so I don't think it's enough to be the best anymore. There's a million best lash artists. You know what I mean? We have to sell our secret
Gotta
sauce.
get started on that word too. The
Yeah.
best for
Yeah.
You gotta do better than just saying that. You know what I mean? It's like, what
Yeah.
does that even mean? It's all subjective. Like
All subjective, because I've had clients leave me because I won't put 25 millimeter lashes on them, right? And so they would not think I'm the best. But it just depends like what your jam is, right?
Totally.
But so I'm like all about teaching people to sell themselves and their special sauce, you know, and diversifying their revenue, because we can only do so many clients in a day, and then that's kind of it. Like we need something else, you know what I mean? And I think people sometimes get caught up like, I have nothing of value to sell, or I have nothing to talk about, you know, but you do. Everyone has so many skills, they just don't see it. So my goal is to help them see it, you know?
Yeah, it starts with you and the confidence and not only your skill set, the products that you're working with. You know, that's infectious. I know I used to joke around when I was doing makeup full time, and I was like, I for sure know that I'm not the best makeup artist. I knew that I wasn't. Of course, was I talented? Yes, I wasn't not a good makeup artist, but I wasn't quote unquote the best.
Yeah.
Right. But people were coming to me and rebooking me for weddings year after year, all referrals, because I just was positive. I was just fun to be around. I was just a good energy, right? So like, I think that can sometimes supersede your talent level, right? And just being a safe place for your clients to go to that's just warm and comforting, and you make them feel good, and there's like a connection. And that to me, like that's the sauce, right? And everybody has that. Like everybody has that unique skill set, whether it be you're a good listener or just whatever the case may be. So never sell yourself short. Yeah.
And it helps too to like surround yourself with people, like, what's that saying? You're like the 5 closest people around you, you're a product of that or something, you know, but I'm like
5 people closest to you or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm like, you have to, because not everybody in your life is going to support you, unfortunately, right? People who maybe don't have a lash business or don't work for themselves don't get it all the time, right? But I encourage people too to like build relationships with people in your community, slide into those DMs and try to like get around people who have similar goals, because that helps you feel more confident too, you know? Even the opportunity with Lash Affair, like I saw that you guys were looking for educators and I was like, what's the worst that can happen? They tell me no, you know? So, and then I got to come to Arizona, I got to meet you, like we still talk, like there's so many more things from that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Special
So
sauce.
Don't be afraid to take chances for sure. So now tell me about how many online programs do you have?
So I have email marketing, website development, and then my big one, creation to launch.
Okay. I've heard a lot of positive feedback about that one.
Yeah.
A couple of my educators took it. I know I'm just hearing some chatter in the industry. They're like, oh, it's really good. And I'm like, I don't doubt it. Of course. So that was kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because I always want to promote people or support people that I feel are doing the right thing and have integrity and are just truly helping people. And you for sure are one of those people. So you're on the fence and you're looking to take a business course, I highly recommend it. So
yeah.
We talked prior to this about giving away one of our online courses and then doing one of your online courses. So we do a giveaway for that for sure.
Yeah, so I'll tell you about it. So creation to
Yeah.
launch. The other one's email marketing. Like I do like workshops every month. So there's stuff like that. But like the big one that I said is creation to launch. And the whole, so to take it back a little bit I'm in Canada and we've been shut down like over the past year, we've been shut down like 9 out of the 12 months.
I was gonna say the whole time.
The whole time. Like
Much
we're
better.
yeah, and even Toronto right now is still in a lockdown. They're still not allowed to open. So I'm just outside of Toronto. Yeah. Um, so literally March 16th, 2020, I had to shut my doors to my business, like with nothing. Like no one's giving me money, nothing's happening. So I was like, I have to find a way to provide for my family because my husband's self-employed too. He owns a gym. So he was out of business too. We had to shut. And like,
Yeah.
there's no, I mean, now there's some government funding, but there was nothing then. They were just like, don't work. So crazy. So yeah, anyway, I was like, I have to make money. And I was like, I have skills. What am I good at? Like people always asked me about my website and they always asked me about like email marketing. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to create 2 courses and I'm going to put them out into the universe. And I put them out. They were like really low ticket items, like $37. And I made 10 grand in like 2 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like really good. So I was like, yo,
Whoa.
I'm
Well,
good
we're
at
gonna use a little sample audio for that to
Yeah.
promote. Yes,
So
that's
I was
so
like,
awesome.
yeah. And I was like, okay, this works, like online courses. And then, but they continue to bring me money, like every week I make more money on those courses. And I just had to make it once. And then I just have to sell it, right? Tell people about it. So I was like, I have to create a program for lash artists to start making their own courses because it works and there's no downside. You just have to create one profitable course and you can sell it over and over and over again, right? I mean, you guys have some online courses, it's the same thing. Like it
Yeah.
makes so much more sense. And the thing, I get hyped up, like I'm excited right now, but like
Around.
um with online courses too, I'm like, you can reach people on a global scale. Because if I'm teaching lashes 1-to-1, I can only service people in my area. But if I create a course, like I've had people take my course like on every continent. Like that's amazing, right? So
It is amazing. And I love that the conversation around learning online has changed. Obviously,
yes.
we're forced into that, right? So who knows if this would still be at where it is now if we didn't have the COVID factor, right?
Mhm.
But I just feel like we kind of were like hesitant, kind of fighting it, like only in
Yeah.
person for so long. But
Mhm.
then once we were given the chance, or not given the chance, or we weren't given a chance, and that was the only opportunity that we had. I think it just showed everybody like, hey, maybe this isn't the worst thing. Like I enjoy taking courses online because I
Yeah.
get really distracted in a group setting sometimes. So
Mhm.
just to sit and just work on my own pace, I enjoy that. So I'm happy to see that this is just we're normalizing it. So
Exactly. And it doesn't just have to be like lashes. So in my course, like I have one girl who's going to talk about who she's a lash artist, but she took my course and she's going to talk about feeding her toddler, like good foods for toddlers. So like you can think even you have skills outside of lashes that I wanted to like hit that home to lash artists because everyone thinks I have to do a volume course or a classic course, but like there's people killing that right now. You know what I mean? Like there might be other skills that you have. There's another person teaching how to do like QuickBooks for lash artists, like how to get your money right. So I'm like all these different topics you can do. Yeah, and you can create a mini course. Like, so I teach how to create a mini course, right? So it's not
any course. So
a
it's just
mini,
how to set up a course of whether it be food, lashing,
yeah,
business related,
yeah,
dog walking, anything. So
yeah.
just
So it's
that's
Yeah,
cool.
so it's like a mini course. So it's like it takes you through from your concept, your idea, your brainstorming, all the way to launching. Because you can create a course, but if you don't know how to sell it, there's no point, right? You have to get it in front of people. So like I have
Sure.
a whole launching system or whatever that in my course that I teach. So it's good. Yeah. So it's all about courses you can get done in about 2 months. So something that would be from the $50 to $200 range in price point. Yeah.
Nice. And
Hmm.
then that's a totally reasonable a dollar amount that people are willing to pay to
Yeah.
gain residual income.
Exactly.
No brainer, right? If you do the math, like the ROI on that, you can make that money back so fast.
So fast. And I mean,
And some,
even-
clearly with the way your course went.
right? So, and I had the same success when I launched Creation to Launch. So it's like, you only have to do it once. And I'm launching Creation to Launch again in April. So I don't have to do all the videos again. I don't have to do all the workbooks. Like I can tweak it, but it's done one time, right?
Sick. That's so great. So that's inspiring. So, you know, I think a lot of people right now, because I've been chatting with a lot of people in the lash industry, not in the lash industry, and I feel like a lot of people are just taking a hard look at whatever it is that they're doing, and really asking themselves, like, am I happy? Do I want to keep doing this? So that I think is really nice, that people are just like feeling, wow, like life, I don't know, maybe they're feeling like life is short, or like this year has taught us that there's so much more to your life than just work. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that to me is a positive outcome
Yeah.
of everything that went down, where if like people can do small changes or maybe big changes to better their lives, I think that's in my book a win, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. And like then you have, it sounds like cheesy infomercial, but you have more time to do what you love, right? Because if you're like have your online course, you can see less clients, which means you can do more other things, right? That you want to do.
Yeah.
Or not stress about if you're like I know no matter what happens anywhere, I can make money from anywhere in the world.
Right. And
Like,
it takes away a little bit of that fear of like, I remember when I was a full-time lash artist, I would never go like skiing, or I would never do like
yeah,
outdoorsy types of things, because I was afraid of like breaking my hand. Or it can be pretty scary though, right? If you have a
yeah,
business that revolves around, you know, keeping your hands healthy, God forbid you ever like broke a hand, you'd be out of work. So
yeah,
it's smart for many reasons to have. It's like diversifying your life portfolio, right?
yeah,
Or
exactly.
you don't want to get stuck doing one thing. It's very good to diversify, and I think that we're seeing a lot more of that. So I love that your course teaches people how to create courses regardless of what the topic is. That's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly. Because the framework is the same. I mean, how you launch a course, how you sell a course, it's the same no matter what the topic, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, it's good. People create your courses.
Yeah. I think right now, the next couple of years, I shouldn't say right now, but in the next even 1 year, 2 or 3 years, we're going to start seeing so much fire content that was been like movies, music, like
Yeah,
everything that's being created in this past like year and a half of lockdown.
yeah,
You always look at back in times of like tragedy, or just, you know, when shit has hit the fan globally, you see spikes in innovation and creativity and like films and all that stuff. So I'm actually just excited to see from all the creatives around the world in different areas, like different categories, like what is came out of them during these hard times. So
yeah.
I'm a big believer in just when it goes down, it's gotta go up, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. And people have, a lot of people just have nothing but time, right? Like, in Canada being locked down, can't go outside. Like there's like stay-at-home orders, like you can't go anywhere. So,
God.
yeah, it's rough, but you got time to think, right?
Time to think, time to be productive. And I think a lot of people are just looking at like, I'm stuck at home and I'm so limited, where it's like you really don't need a lot sometimes to create, right? You have your laptop and you have the drive inside you and a quiet room. I'm actually sitting in the room with my dog snoring, so that's not too
Oh,
distracting. But just having like your own
I
space.
can't hear your sound. I don't know. Can
Oh,
you
yeah,
hear me?
I can hear you. Oh,
You froze.
oh no, no. Maybe
Oh, now I
it
can
could.
hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, could be probably it's just the poor connection or
Yeah.
whatnot. But yeah, I mean, just because if you're stuck inside, you don't need a lot of resources to create nowadays at
Mhm.
all. You just have a laptop, a little course guide, and just your own personal motivation to get shit done. So
No,
yeah,
exactly.
it's sometimes I just think sometimes I don't know if it's excuses that people make, or like I don't have the money, or I don't have the time, or I don't have this, I don't have that, where it's like turns out like you don't need any of that, right?
No, exactly. Right.
But it doesn't have to be this monumental thing where I think we limit ourselves because maybe we're afraid.
Yeah,
right? I just
for
think
sure.
you just make up these excuses and you're like, "Ah, I'll do it later, I'll get to it or whatever." And we're seeing a lot of the things that people were pushing off.
Hmm.
Now it's like,
Yeah.
all right, shit, now I don't have an excuse. So
Yeah. And we always look at everyone's like finished. Like, say I was starting a lash brand, like, and I look at you now, I'd be like, oh, I'll never get there. But like, you also didn't, like, Lash Affair didn't look how it looks now when you started it, I'm sure. Yeah.
oh my God, terrible. I laugh about it all the time because I look at like old things that we used to do and it's like horrifying, but I like seeing it because it's like
Yeah.
that was what I thought was great, or that was just it's humbling, right? To see the evolution of how things grow, but it's fun, it's cool. But yeah, no, that's an important life lesson. Just to compare yourself, your start with someone else's finish is so that is just so unfair
Mhm.
to you to do that.
Yeah.
That negative energy that you're putting on yourself is so ridiculous and uncalled for. And it's just not reality based, right?
No, it
You're
makes no
drawing
sense.
conclusions that like don't even have a connection, right?
Mhm.
Where it's like, we've been doing this for almost 8 or 9 years. I don't know, it feels like 100. Anything else that you want to share with people? Any like last bit? You have like a favorite book or something, a motivational quote that you live by?
Ooh, the one thing I always say, I wish I could say I had a book. You know what? I've tried to read so many times in my life and it's not happening for me. So I'm like, yeah, I can't get into books. But I always say your success is inevitable, so let's do something extraordinary. Because if you knew without a doubt you were going to be successful, like you would take more chances or you would try more things because it's going to happen for you regardless. Like, whether you fall today or you fall tomorrow or this business ends or that ends or whatever, like your success is going to happen.
I want to believe that good people will have good things coming to them. I want to believe in my heart that that's the way the world is. It's like, if you do good and put it out there, like you're going to get
Yeah.
that back. So I love that. Well, I love what you do. Thank you for coming on. I feel like it was only right. Two new podcasters getting together and doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time,
Yeah,
and you have a beautiful weekend and keep creating. Keep doing you.
thank
And
you
hopefully
so
we'll
much.
get you back to Arizona someday soon.
Yes, I want to come back for sure. I'm escaping the cold.
Oh my God. Well, stay safe, stay warm, and keep in touch.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye, Claire. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Now, on to the good stuff. We're going to be picking one winner to win 50% off a Lash Affair course and a course with Claire. So head on over to our Instagram and check out the post about today's episode with Claire and comment your 2021 goal. We're going to be picking one winner, maybe two.